Alrighty.
Give me just a minute. Looks like we are live. Looks like we might be missing Ben here. Okay, I think we're waiting on Mr. Benjamin Johnson, and then we will be getting started in just a moment. Mr. Johnson, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. All right, guys. So thank you so much for joining us on tonight. I want to say hello to everyone out there that are watching this live stream. We'd like for you to go ahead and like this page, SaveSAU, and share this live stream with your friends and family members. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about St. Augustine's University and the SaveSAU Coalition. And we have two special guests on tonight. We have John Larkins and Benjamin Johnson. Excuse me, that's Dr. John Larkins. Let me get it correct. Better known as Dr. J. So I'm actually going to turn it over to him first so he can go ahead and provide a brief introduction of himself. So could you go ahead and unmute yourself?
I guess that'll help. I guess, can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, sir, loud and clear.
Well, thank you, Paulette, for having us on here tonight in your inaugural podcast dealing with HBCU matters. I think it's critical at this time that there be alternative or platforms out there to cover some of the key issues that our universities are facing. You know, we're one of a few small private HBCUs who are facing similar problems. And, you know, we need to address it because once you lose one, it's very difficult to replace it. And a school like St. Augustine's University is irreplaceable in my mind, particularly with the significant contributions it's made uh, both to the city of Raleigh, the state, and the nation as a whole. My opinion is strategic. HBCUs are strategic to the country, and we need to maintain as many of them as we can and support them as much as we can. As you mentioned, my name is Dr. John Larkins. I'm a 66 graduate. So I've got over almost over half a century invested in this school, which originally was a college that did so much for me in developing me to go out and go different places and do different things, both nationally and internationally. I had the opportunity to go on to Howard University, the Mecca, when I left St. Aug, well prepared for master's, doctorate degree. Left there, went on to other institutions, MIT, Harvard, a couple other schools where I took various courses, postdoctoral experiences. But all of that was based on the foundation that St. Augustine's had provided for me. Gave me an opportunity to compete at the highest level with students from all over the country, and paid off with extensive career with the government. I worked for the Department of Defense, developing, I won't call them mass weapons, but let's call them weapons for defense. Actually, I worked a little bit on nuclear submarines and other things. And then I went over to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, where I was in charge. I was a regulator in charge of protecting public health and safety in the environment for in the use of radioactive material. And before I retired in 2007. They brought me back to work in their HR department, where I provided grants to minority serving institutions, which included all 107 HBCUs plus Native American schools and Hispanic serving institutions. So I have some experience working with our colleges and universities. I also served as a consultant for the, boy, I can't even think of the name of it now, dealing with the Congressional Black Caucus annual conference, where we tried to introduce our schools, our principals and presidents and others to government officials in order to get monies and stuff. And we were very successful, provided millions of dollars to a number of HBCUs over a 4 or 5 year period. And I've always wanted to be able to do more and provide more for my alma mater. I have been, I said, serving over 50 years. I first worked in the Washington, D.C. chapter, where I was the president, the chapter for a couple of years. I've also worked here in Florida with the chapter here. I've served as the National Alumni Association president for 2 terms, and I thought I did a reasonably good job. Not to pat myself on the back, but we did grow the organization. We provided more monies, a couple of $1 million over those 2 terms. And I think we were successful in recruiting, building up the image, and working hard for the school. I served about 18 months on the board of trustees for St. Augustine's University, where I became intimately familiar with a number of the issues and problems that have plagued our institution over the last 6, 7 years. And that's why I'm so adamant about trying to correct those problems, because I see us being an essential element, not only in the city of Raleigh and Wake County and the state, but also, like I said earlier, nationally. I mean, we need to educate our students and put them out there, either in the public service, education, lawyers, doctors, whatever, because really our numbers are going down in a number of these professions. That's why I say HBCUs are strategic to the nation, and we need to maintain them.
Wow. Well, thank
Okay.
you. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Larkin. So now I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Benjamin Johnson. You can give a brief
Oh,
introduction of yourself and how you are affiliated with St. Augustine's University.
okay. Well, I may be as brief as John, but saying and pulling that out. But I'm Benjamin Johnson, and thank you for having me, Paulette. In that I'm a 1983 graduate of St. Augustine's University. I am a legacy of St. Augustine's. Um, got my degree in biology in at St. Aug, and I grew up on the campus. My dad was there at St. Aug he was head of the science department for 35 years and the faculty athletic chairman, and he coached football uh, and did a little bit of everything besides. As he used to say, that St. Aug hired teachers who could coach. They didn't hire coaches. and I have four brothers. There's five of us. Three of us attended St. Augustine's. I was an 83 graduate. I played basketball at St. Aug, was captain of the 83 team. And so St. Aug has been a very, and my mother is a St. Aug graduate. She was also one of the teachers of nurses at the St. Agnes Nursing School. And so between my dad and my mom, and they put three boys through St. Aug, along with other family members, cousins and uncles and aunts and nieces and nephews have all gone through there. And so St. Aug, and in seeing some of the things that have happened at St. Aug, and like John, it was a college when I was there, but now it's a university. In seeing some of the growth in where St. Aug has put people in life and in the country and across the world, that they all got a great foundation and started at St. Aug, and St. Aug is home. And it plays a pivotal part, even just from its introduction and its founding, for African Americans to be able to compete and with in the world and in the country. And it gave me an opportunity and a great foundation to be able to do what I do. Um, I um, I did emergency management for the first African American governor in the United States, L. Douglas Wilder. And one of the things that we talked about was Black excellence, and to be able to achieve that. And St. Aug was definitely visionary in that piece, to be able to have Black excellence, um, male and female, to be able to put those things in place. And so um, that's one of the things that I've done, and with my family, is we started the Falcon Six Man Foundation to mentor men and women athletes in how to be professional, because at some point you have to stop playing the game and being ready in the professionalism. But the athletics allows you to understand competition and being able to move forward and push for that goal, and that gold medal, if you will. We just got done with the Olympics. So that's kind of my Reader's Digest piece here. And thanks again for having us to be able to talk about the SaveSAU Coalition.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Ben Johnson. So tonight you're going to hear a lot more about the SaveSAU Coalition and some of how this coalition came about and some of the challenges in which the university is actually facing. And what I want you guys to do, though, in the meantime, is I want you to share this video with your friends and family members on social media. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and copy and paste the link and send it out to your friends and family members so that they can, find out what is really happening with St. Augustine's University. I know a lot of you have seen some things in the media, some back and forth in the media. And so the purpose of this full-blown live session, and we're going to have some more coming up over the weeks on the same day, Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. We're going to be talking about ways in which you can get involved with Saving the University. And we're also going to clear up some of the mistruths that are out there floating around, in the gossip column, right? So we want to basically clear up some of that and get the truth out there so you will know what you are actually fighting for. So I want to start by asking Mr. Johnson, I'm going to start with you first. I want to ask you, can you give me a brief description, or the audience a brief description of what SaveSAU Coalition is?
Well, one of the things that we noticed, it started out with 7 people getting together, having discussions, and it mushroomed to 11. And we found that we all had the same goal in line, to save the university. And we were all we were like a hand. We all were fingers on a hand, and we all had different parts. For instance, I mentioned the Falcon 6-man, which was for athletics, and men and women's athletics, and to be able to put that in place. And we were doing basically a mentorship program and raising funds. And when this accreditation issue started to happen, it had a large effect on the NCAA and St. Aug being involved. And that's how we got involved. And there were other groups such as Falcons United, the Oakwood Foundation, who were doing things. And so we took 1 or 2 people from each one of these 11 entities and brought them together. And John was an integral part in that. And that we realized that, if we made a fist, we could strike a mighty blow, but we're out here dangling. We were just merely, how did the young people, we didn't have it together. And so there's strength in numbers. And once we organized, we were able to do a lot of things in regards to, what we brought to the table. There's, for instance, Falcons Unite had an inventory of, 3,000 to 4,000 people, and they were able to get, a signed petition together with 3,000 names on it in 48 hours, and things like that. And so everybody brought something different to the table, but collectively we were able to put some things together. Like we were trying to find an attorney. We were looking at that, and everybody brought something different to the table, but it was needed. Everybody's contribution was needed. And so we came together like that for the common cause of saving the institution, what we would need to do in order to maintain accreditation, starting that. And the biggest goal was that the board needed to be removed in order to start this process. So that's where we are with that.
Okay, John, would you like to add to that? Dr. Jackson?
I think Bennett did a good job there, but I have a few things. When you're first bringing a coalition together, people have different ideas about approach, but we were able to set aside our differences and come up with a resolution that we wanted to send out. We were trying, and we still are, to work as constructively as we can for the university. Not just, a key goal was the removal of the board, but that was derived from years of observations of problems. The fact that there was this constant turnover in the leadership at the university, which destabilized the university. There was a lot of problems that kept popping up in terms of budget and fundraising and contracting. And, there was a common theme among a lot of that, and it was the board. And when you read the comments that came back from our accrediting institution, SACS, a common theme in all of those was the board of trustees. So, we felt in order for the school, and we still believe, to maintain or be able to get its accreditation, you have to clean up the governance situation at St. Augustine's University. And that's why we had a key goal. But aside from that, we're also working on other things. We've been supporting the faculty and staff. We've been supporting students. When the school had to close down early and went virtual and there were still students there, we helped bring in individuals to provide food and other services, not only just to the students, excuse me, but also to the faculty. And we tried reaching out
So
to the board.
Dr. J, I heard something key that you just said.
Okay.
And that was the governance of the school. And I think that's part of the reason that basically that put our accreditation or the university's accreditation into jeopardy. I noticed some of the things I was reading was the school was actually being governed by the board when it should really be governed by a president. And so can you elaborate a little bit? I think it was basically an overreach of the board, right?
Yeah, no, you're correct.
Say it. So could you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact year, but I think it was somewhere around 2021, where there was correspondence from SACS when we were, well, let me just give you a little chronology first. In 2017, we were on probation. Dr. Everett Ward was successful in getting us off probation back to a fully accredited state. Unfortunately, for a number of reasons, which I won't go into right now, Dr. Ward left, moved on, and they brought in a new president or interim, Dr. Gaddis Falcon, in 2018, 2019. And he did reasonably well, raising money, increasing enrollment, getting substantial grants, one for $3.5 million to refurbish our MLK student building, which also houses the cafeteria and a couple of others. Unfortunately, for reasons I won't talk about now, his contract wasn't renewed. And then we had an interim president in there, Dr. Lumpkin. And then after that, we had Dr. Irving McPhail. Unfortunately, Dr. McPhail passed after only 3 months in office due to COVID. And then we went back to Dr. Lumpkin again. And then finally they hired Dr. Christine McPhail. And then they had problems with Christine McPhail, and she was let go right before a SACS meeting, right before the December 3rd, 2023 SACS meeting. And that, I think, well, it certainly didn't help us in trying to preserve our accreditation with SACS or get off probation. So SACS essentially said, we were losing our accreditation as of December 3rd, 2023, subject to appeal. And the university did appeal. We were not successful with the appeal. SACS gave us another opportunity through a new process of binding arbitration, which we entered into. And I say through the grace of God, we were fortunate that we came out of the binding arbitration with a reprieve for 4 months to get us off of probation. We're accredited now, don't get me wrong, but we're still in probation. And we have until December to go back and address the areas where we're not in compliance. Basically, sections 4 and 13, which deal with governance and deal with finance. Some of the original issues that were raised by SACS on overreach, they actually said that, it seemed like the board was running the school as opposed to the president. And, it's easy to see how they drew that conclusion. And when you have interims in, they're always going to say that they need to be more closely involved than when you have a permanent president. But even when there was a permanent president, there was a lot of intervention by the board. And at some point, I'd like to cover some of those accreditation risks that are still out there, but I see if that answers your question.
Wow, thank you. Yes, it did. And you few things that you said just now actually led into a couple more topics. And of course, this whole coalition came about because of accreditation and finances. Okay. And of course, we all know that a university needs finances to be able to run and operate sufficiently. With finances, we've heard a lot about, we've heard from parents, we've heard from students, and even parents that have said that, they never got their refunds or their accounts weren't right, their accounts weren't correct with the university. And I know some of that goes back to basically what the governing board said or SAC said, that we weren't managing the finances weren't being managed correctly, which were being managed by the board, if I'm saying that correct. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would say that in the SAC's report about the financial mismanagement, one of their items was that there was $10 million that was unaccounted for. And that is in the report in regards to financial mismanagement. And we all know, we all attended St. Augustine's University. $10 million for St. Aug is a lot of money. And us not knowing where it is, because we could show that it came in, but we can't show where it went out. Those types of things and the financial mismanagement showed up in the audit and SAC's report. And so there's a history, there's a trail that came about in regards to that. This didn't just happen. This happened over a period of time in the documentation. So we do have to address the financial mismanagement and have a sound financial response is one of the things in order to be able to get back in accreditation once we go through this 4-month window here, where they'll need to show how they're going to correct these problems in order to get back in accreditation.
Okay, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Bennett. But I know the audience is probably wondering who is they and who has to show, right? Who is because we definitely know it's not the SaveSAU coalition, right? So
Right.
whose responsibility is it to show where these monies went and to get the school back into good standing?
Well, it basically falls upon the university, but the university, the board manages a lot of what's being done at the university. And a key part of the being able to demonstrate this financial situation for the university is through the audit process. And there were 3 years of audits that are required by SACS, where you show financial stability of the university. The university has been unable for the last, I don't know, 2, 3 years, 3 years, Ben, to
It's last four.
last four,
Yeah, four.
to present reasonable audits, which shows that the school has been managing its finances appropriately. In each of these audits, and as reported by SACS, there have been material weaknesses in internal controls. And by that, I mean, having somebody look at how the money is being spent, where it's going, making sure that there's adequate documentation. All of these reports that I've seen in the past have pointed to weaknesses, and there's policies and procedures in place, but the question always boils down to implementation. And we've never really had a controller, somebody who looks over the operations of the chief financial officer to make sure they're correct. I mean, it's embarrassing. One year, they said they couldn't find any of the financial records for that year. So they had to go back and reconstitute them or anyway, they had to go through a lengthy process of trying to recreate all of these records so they could do an audit. And we've gone through 3 different auditors. Back in 2021 or 20, we had Peachtree, then we went to BDO, and now I understand they have another auditing company to try to get these 3 audits done to satisfy SACS. And also, I think that'll also be important in order to get relief from the Department of Education on our funds. We have to show good accountability for our money, particularly the government monies that we receive, Title I, Title III, Title IV monies. So, and that's been a good part of the problem, being able to demonstrate where your funds are going. Ben mentioned something about the $10 million, which, they're electronic transfers. There should be records kept. Both Ben and I work for the federal government. We know something about record keeping. We know something about internal controls. And when you talk about material weaknesses, that just says that there's a breakdown in your processes for accounting of your money.
So 10 million, so that what you're basically saying is $10 million went unaccounted for. And so how, and we don't have any records of $10 million being unaccounted for. That's a lot of money.
Well, right? Let's say there's $10 million that came to the school.
Right.
And that is recorded by the federal government, which sent money to the school.
Yes.
There are no audits or records to say where that $10 million went. And that's in the SACS audit and the SACS report that is $10 million is unaccounted for. And with that, we looked at the SACS report, the coalition, which was one of the impetus for us to proceed with galvanizing, putting a resolution together, because all of these things are addressed in that report, and then to finally get to where we filed a lawsuit for mismanagement of funds. And in order to clear it up, we saw that there was a common denominator, if you will, and the common denominator always the board had a spot in. So, but yeah, with the funds, we've had several alumni chapters to make donations to the school, and then we have a debt ratio that supersedes any. We just received a loan, if you will, but we have more debt than what the loan is to provide, and so we are in a difficult spot as we try to push forward. But again, when you talk about the $10 million and it being unaccounted for, we're, as John mentioned, 3 years worth of audits doesn't show where the $10 million is.
Wow. So
the other, can I just
yes, go ahead.
Clarify something on this? The university is responsible for preparing the audits, and then the board is responsible for reviewing. The board has finance committees on the board whose responsibility it is to monitor what the university is doing. And when there's a problem, when there's demonstrated, I think it was 2019, there was a $5.5 million deficit. The following year, there was an $8.5 million deficit. So when you prepare your budgets and things, you have to take these into account. So if you don't have a good audits and you don't know what's going on, it's hard to prepare a good budget that addresses all of these issues. And when we look at the requirements from SACS, why this is critical, there are 6 key issues. One says the Board of Trustees exercises fiduciary oversight. What that means is they review what the university is doing and making sure that the university is addressing all the financial issues and how they handle their monies, whether it's from government donations or whatever. And it says the institution has sound financial resources and a demonstrated financial base. And what Ben was pointing out before, we need 3 years to show that we have a solid financial basis to run the institution. But when you're running deficits, you have to account for that and show how, that's been addressed. And it says 3, the member institution provides the following financial statements. So you have to produce audits FY22, FY23, and FY24, for example. And this has been going on now for a couple of years. So, obviously, if this was a public institution or another institution, changes would have been made in leadership long before we got to this situation, because it puts you in harm's way with the Department of Education in terms of trying to get continuing monies. And we're at a, we don't trust you level right now with the Department of Education. And that's why they cut off our funding in 23, because we hadn't demonstrated, how we were handling our funds. I'm oversimplifying this for our audience, but and then the 4th item says the institution manages its financial resources in a responsible manner. You have to demonstrate that in order to satisfy SACS or any accrediting agency. So it's not just SACS. And 5th, it says the institute exercises appropriate control over all of its financial resources. That goes back to the issue when I talk about internal controls. You have one person who's writing a check, you have another person who's reviewing it. So you have a controller to keep track of that. And lastly, number 6, the institution is in compliance with its program responsibilities under Title IV. Title IV goes back to Department of Education. So all of this is tied in together. And so now you see why we not only have the problem with the accreditation issue, but we also have the issue with the Department of Education on our financial compliance with Title IV.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I hear you talking about the financial piece, and it sounds like, in my mind, if I'm on the other side listening, as our audience is, it sounds like there's basically just basically poor mismanagement of funds. And with that being said, to me, it sounds like it's pointing back to that one common denominator, which is which sounds like the board, right? Because if they are overstepping, right, their position, that means they're the ones that's actually managing the finances as well. Now, there's been a lot of talk, of course, in the grapevine, that the coalition, the SaveSAU coalition, was suing the university. But I wanted to make sure that we clear that up tonight, and let our audience know that that's not a true statement. And so, Ben, if you could just kind of elaborate a little bit on that, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Thank you, Paulette. One of the pieces on that is that we're not suing the university. We're suing for the removal of the board so that we can achieve all of the steps that John just mentioned with a board that is going to function in the manner in which it is supposed to, and have the financial, not have the financial mismanagement, but to have the fiduciary responsibilities of doing it correctly. And so we're suing to have the board removed so that we can get about righting the ship and getting it out and doing it correctly. We're not suing the school. What we're doing is, for the betterment of the school, this board with its previous decision making and its mismanagement and its financial irresponsibilities needs to go so that we can make those corrections. And that's where it starts, is the removal of the board.
Right. Now,
If I can just add real quick to that, the only way I think you're going to satisfy the standards from SACS, particularly 4.1 and others on governance, is to have a change in the board. I mean, they've been signaling that to us for 4 years. So it needs to be addressed. And, we didn't go into this suit lightly. We tried, offering up letters, resolutions, letters of demand prior to going into a suit because, our job, and the way I look at it, is try to keep the doors open. And so, we need to support the university, the staff. We were very happy, prayerfully happy that they got the reprieve from SACS, that we were happy that they got the loan so they could pay the faculty. Because there's a lot of people at St. Augustine's, faculty and staff, who've been there and for 6, 7 months haven't received a full paycheck. And so these people have sacrificed, suffered. Students have suffered because they've invested in our institution. And unfortunately, some of them had to leave because of the problems, and some of them haven't returned. And the parents who signed for the loans for these kids have suffered. So, we are glad that they were able to. I mean, I don't know if we're happy about the loan, but we are happy that some of these people, and we've all dug in our pockets to help the faculty over there try to make ends meet, not with much, but as much as we could afford, as much as we could raise.
So, Dr. J, I just heard something you said. You said a $7 million loan, and with the university not having any money and not having a plan on getting any money, what good is a loan if you don't have a plan on repaying it? And what kind of terms are you
I'm going to say something real quick, and then I'm going to let Ben take it on. You can't borrow your way out of debt. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can get as many credit cards, as many loans as you want, but you can't borrow your way out of debt because at some point you're going to make that payment. So, but like I said before, I just thank God that some of these people, faculty, are going to be able to get paid. I hope they all get paid. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry.
Yes, and I will say, well, what John said is what I was going to say, but I will also say that we have a situation where the SaveSAU Coalition, there are things that we have done. There have been leaks on the campus. There have been things in disrepair that we have found a way to go ahead and repair water leaks, painting, cutting grass, through the coalition, and then members of the coalition have stepped up to do that because when you have a maintenance person who is filing a lawsuit also because they haven't been paid since January of 2023, and they are owed $1.3 million, and that they continue to do the work. Faculty and staff continue to do the work, graduate kids. It's a thing of applauding them, but in reality, you look at it and like, you just went 8 months without a paycheck. And in working for the federal government, if you're working and you don't get paid, you're volunteering. And in that aspect, and just trying to put those things together, and we recognize that and we applaud it. I am very thankful that they stayed on to do that because of the love and the legacy that they had for St. Aug. But you can't you can't run a business like that, and you can't run an educational institution like that. You've got people that are coming on, teachers that are doing their job, the maintenance crew, the security, all of those things. And when those faculty and staff were coming, they came to us, and we were trying to, we knew we couldn't make them whole, but we could help. And so we would do those types of things, just, and I would say the bottom line is our just genuine love for St. Aug, and we want to keep the doors open.
It's so nice to hear you say that, because I do remember back, and I want to say it was around April time frame. There were a lot of students that didn't even have meals on campus because the bills hadn't been paid, right? And I noticed that the coalition actually stepped in and took care of meals and attire for graduating students, and especially for our international students, right? The coalition stepped in and provided food for those students, right?
Yeah,
So we definitely want to say thank you to you all for that. And also noting that you said 8 months of faculty and staff not being paid, and hoping that they're getting paid from the monies that the university recently said that they received as some kind of loan, right? So we're hoping now that the faculty and staff has gotten paid for those 8 months, that 8 month shortfall, right?
That there's hope that the right things will be done. And we want to be able to, that they can do that. But as we've looked at several of the bills, we have $160,000 water bill that will soon be $215,000. We've got gas and electric bills, and we need to make sure that those things are paid along with faculty and staff. And we've got a $7.5 million loan that that can make the faculty and staff whole, which is what we want. But what are the plans moving forward to be able to pay that loan off? And and as John said, you can't borrow money to get out of debt. You've got to go ahead and make those payments and get those things in place, and that's where we are.
Well, here's the question. Ben,
did we lose John?
For you.
Okay.
I think we lost John, but I do have a question for you. Has the board provided any written communication on how the loan will be repaid? What their plan is? Is there an outlined plan on how they, to repay these monies?
We've been asking for a plan since the resolution, which was put together, that I just got a ding here, so I interrupted my thought, but I'm gonna come back to it. Since March, when we did the resolution, and we asked, to, please get the faculty and staff paid, and those items in there, we needed to pay the faculty and staff. They're doing the heavy lifting, and so in this process, we were able to, look at and ask them, what is the plan? And to date, we have not received. We have asked 3 times formally, and we haven't received anything in regards to the plan, how they plan to pay this money back, and so we're all kind of waiting with that.
So I will tell you, one of the reasons why I took a look at this and decided to get involved was because it was very disheartening to me to know that the faculty and staff of the university wasn't being paid, and they had been promised paychecks month over month, right? And they hadn't received their paycheck up until probably recently. We're hoping that they got paid. We don't have any confirmation that they've gotten paid or gotten any monies, but we heard that's the intent, but we can't confirm that. So just so the viewers know, we as SaveSAU cannot confirm that the faculty and staff have actually gotten paid from these loan monies. So hopefully over the next few weeks, we'll be able to hear from some of the faculty and staff on whether or not they've been made whole, as Dr. J and Mr. Johnson has said, because a lot of them have went through homelessness, losing their cars, and not being able to feed their families. And so to be put in a position like that and be promised month over month to get paid and don't get paid raised great concern for me, right? Just from being a human, right? Or knowing that people did work and
Yeah.
wasn't being paid. Okay.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that Gothic Ventures was the organization that provided this loan to St. Augustine's University. Does anybody know anything about Gothic University, Gothic Ventures or Adventures?
John, we're doing some legwork to find out, and John may be better to answer that question than me.
There's been some things published in the papers, but we really don't have a good handle for who's in this Gothic Ventures organization, nor do we have a good handle on the terms for the loan, the $7 million, which can be expanded to, I guess, $30 million, which would require substantially more collateralization of what's already been tied up. So I don't want to prematurely say anything. Let us see what else we can find out, maybe by the time for the next podcast. And I apologize, something happened. I lost my connection there for a while, and it's not surprising down here in Florida.
Oh, wow, sunny Florida.
Well, yeah, Florida. And it's good to have grandkids that know how to do this.
So a lot of folks that are listening have often said, I want to be able to donate, and maybe I might not be able to donate monies, but I can donate time or some of my talents. And so I wanted, Ben, if you could share the website where people can go to find out more about Save SAU Coalition and talk a little bit about giving donations to the Save SAU Coalition, like where the monies are going, because obviously a lot of people have concerns about giving money and knowing that they're giving money to a leadership that can't manage funds, right? So is this held separately from the university? Is this something totally separate? How is it governed? Could you provide that information?
Okay, it is the SaveSAU coalition.savesau.org that you can go to. There's a couple of spots on the website. We have a legal fund, and then we have a traditional fund to be able to help the university, and you can click on those two on the website. It's savesau.org, and you can make a donation to the legal fund, or you can make a donation to savesau.org, where we are helping the university in issues that are needed. And as I mentioned, things from everything from painting, lawn service, maintenance service, plumbing, all of those things still need to be done. And we've been able to put some people to work with doing that. So savesau.org is the website.
SaveSAU.org is the website, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to the website, and once you get to the website, you can click on Join the Coalition Today. It's an orange button in the middle of the page. And if you scroll down, you will see another button that says Donate Now, okay? And that's where you can make a donation to the causes that the Save SAU Coalition has. Noting that these funds are held in let's say an account that is managed by a third party, right? So these funds are not managed by the university, and
Yes.
these funds are not touched by the Board of Trustees of St. Augustine's University. So I wanted to make sure I put that
And
out.
let me say one other thing. And so when we do get the funds, if we do something at the university, we will give you a receipt to let you know what your funds were used for.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have a platform where the funds go to called Donor Perfect, and you get a receipt for your money as soon as it goes out. And as the treasurer, I keep a listing of everybody who's given. And when we transfer funds to our lawyer or do something for the school, all those things, their reports, their information is available. We try to be we try to be as transparent as we can with your monies. And believe me, I know people are very much concerned during these times of where they give their money and how it's spent. And the rest, we're looking forward to the doors staying open. So one of those funds is called a restoration fund, and that's going to be to help the school with the infrastructure. Ben didn't mention, and I thought he would, is tremendous utility bills and everything else that are there. But at some point, somebody's going to have to help out on those things.
John, when you were off, I mentioned that.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah, so we've got a lot of utility bills, water, gas, electric, and those are they're steadily mounting.
Yeah. So what I want to do, gentlemen, is basically I want to share the website so people can see the website, if you don't mind, just for a second.
That's great.
Okay. So what we're asking everyone to do, if you're listening tonight, is to go to this website, and hopefully you can see my screen. It says SaveSAU.org. You want to visit the website here. You can join the coalition, right? That means you can donate your time or your talents. And I'm going to scroll down here, and you will see another button that says Donate Now. All right, you're going to click on this button. And there are several amounts given here in which you can donate. And if you notice, there is a drop down for 2 items here for you to select where you want your monies to go. Yeah. Notice that the least amount is $25, but if you want to give $5 or $3 or $2, whatever you can afford, you could just click on other donation amount. Okay, all monies are accepted, all amounts. All right, you will get a receipt. You will automatically get a receipt once you make your donation. And so I want you to know that your monies are in safe hands with the Save SAU Coalition, and every dime that you provide will be accounted for, and you will get a receipt. Okay. So just wanted to share that with you, and I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen.
Well, I was going to say, could you leave it up there because you can
I'm going to
see?
leave it up there for a minute.
Yeah, the resolution, the lawsuit, and everything. That if they want to go in, they can read them themselves.
Okay. So if you want information about the resolution and the lawsuit, you can visit this website, and of course you see here Save SAU lawsuit. You can read all the details about the lawsuit here. You can also read about the resolution. Now, if you're wondering who the Board of Trustees are, you will have to visit the St. Augustine's University page to see who the Board of Trustees are that concerns have been raised about. But we definitely want you to visit SaveSAU.org, get involved, make a donation, share it with your friends and your family members, because as you see, we are several $million in the hole, and we need everyone's help to help get us out of this hole and to bring the university back into good standings. And also, if you are listening tonight and you know someone that's on the board, ask them why. Ask them why. Ask them, how did they let this happen? Okay. Ask them, what are their plans for going forward? When are they going to do what's in the best interest of the university and not their personal interests. Because when you look at St. Augustine's College, that's what it was when I was there. It was a pillar it's a pillar in the community, and it's a way to educate students of color. And for some students, there is no option. Okay, there's no other option. And St. Aug has given many students a second, a third, a fourth chance. And a lot of these students have come out to be very successful individuals in their communities. And so please don't take this lightly. We ask that, every Tuesday at 8 p.m. that you tune into these lives and you ask, these folks, why is this happening? Okay. And what are you going to do to move the university forward? But it first starts with them stepping down from the Board of Trustees and allowing a more suitable board to come in place, to be put in place, and also a good president. So with that being said, I do want to hear if Dr. J has anything else he'd like to say. I know he's a man of many words. So I'm going to actually, you can't stop this without letting him talk a little bit. So
I just a few things. We get comments on our website about what we're doing and some of the things. And some of the folks are saying, why are we proceeding with the lawsuit now while the school is, struggling with accreditation, struggling with enrollment, struggling with finances. You can't let things continue to go the way they've been going for the last 6 years. And obviously, I believe if the individuals who are on the board were able to solve the problems years ago, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they would have. One of the things they're saying is, we weren't told, we didn't know. Well, come on. You're there a couple of times a year. You have subcommittee meetings, which interview faculty and staff leadership. You hire the leadership. So to turn over 6 or more presidents in 5 years, it says, there's questionable judgment. And when you don't know, that tells me, that there's a problem with your business acumen. I mean, come on, you should know. And I think that there are a lot of people out there who would support the university, dig deep into their pockets. And also there's a few deep pockets out there that we might be able to tap in to raise monies. The amount of giving has fallen off because people just don't have trust. And we need to build that trust back up again in order to save the school. We need to go out and find ways to bring in some big bucks in order to make repairs, have a good faculty, have a good academic program, that our students are successful. And, we just need to have some change right now where people will feel more confident about their university. I think the community would be more confident. I think those in power in the state government and others will do more. There are a lot of people who said, yeah, we will support you more, but you have to have change, demonstrated change.
Yes.
For the positive to make things improve. So, like I said, with this lawsuit, we're not trying, believe me, our goal is to keep the doors open, not to close the doors. And we want to do everything we can to support students, faculty, a good administration at the school to keep things going. Not saying that the current interim isn't trying to do his best, but I'm just saying there's a need to have an increased level of leadership than what's there right now. And it's hard it's hard to operate also when you're an interim, and it's hard to operate if you have handcuffs on trying to get a job done. I think the school would fare better with a change in the leadership over there on the board. And we're not. Someone said, well, why don't you take a pause? We haven't been advertising. If you notice what we put out there, It's not negative. Most of the things we have to say and what the things we do behind the scenes are all positive, headed towards the uh, saving of the school. So, and we take all comments. People come in, you have suggestions to how to help us to make things better. You know, we're certainly open to that. And Paulette, with that, I'll be brief.
Well, and Paulette, I'll tag along on this, and that, you know, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing, expecting something different to happen. And this board has exercised the same thing, and we have gotten deeper and deeper in a hole, and we can't continue to do the same thing we've been doing. So we want the change. We want to be able to make that in place, and then as we move forward, just to be able to, you know, from the legacy standpoint and what St. Aug has offered and put out there over the years, these last seven years have been pretty tumultuous, with everything that has gone on in the financial mismanagement. And so we need to really correct that. And we're looking at putting those things in place to be able to, you know, to right the ship. As I say, is that, you know, we got to right this ship, and we've got to remove some barnacles off of that ship so that we can set sail. So,
wow. Thank you so much, Ben, or Mr. Johnson.
thank you.
We really appreciate you for giving everybody that's tuning in tonight an opportunity to really hear from the coalition and know what it's all about. And over the next couple of weeks, they will have the opportunity to hear from some other coalition members. And then, of course, you guys will be up again so you can provide some more insight on the nuts and bolts and the truth of what is actually happening. And I do want to just end with one thing I noticed that I forgot to mention. And I know that there was something that came out from the board that they had to retract here recently that wasn't true. Could you elaborate a little bit about that?
What was it?
That's the reinstatement of the full reinstatement of the accreditation, or that they were missed.
Okay, well, I will say this, is that the accreditation, it was a it was a technicality in that the arbiter ruled that St. Aug, the board of trustees, be given the full probationary period, which was 2 years, which ends December of 2024. And so they were basically put back on probation, and they have until December 2024 to rectify all of the correct the situation that they've had 4 years to do.
Demonstrate compliance.
That's demonstrate compliance. Yeah, that's the correct term.
Okay. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to thank both of you for joining tonight. And again, audience,
And thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir, definitely. And for those of you that are tuning in, please visit the website SaveSAU.org. Join the coalition and make your donation. And we appreciate each and every one of you. And we look forward to connecting with you on the other side. Thank you and bye for now.
Okay, thank you.